We've got flatworms for you here. This is 12-4, although in the book you can find this in chapter 27, section 1. Alright, flatworms belong to the phylum Platyhelminthes. Platy means flat, and helminth means worm. There are 3 different classes in phylum Platyhelminthes. The first one class is Turbellaria. Turbellaria include things like planarians over here. We have class Trematoda, which include flukes, which look kind of like leeches, and Cestoda, which are, whoops, oh, I don't have a tapeworm up here. Here's another planarian right there. Tapeworms, they got heads and little body segments like this. So we're going to be taking a look at these types of worms. Okay, so what is a flatworm? It is a soft, flat worm with tissues and internal organ systems. They have 3 embryonic germ layers. So you can see them here. Here's the gut. We have the endoderm, the yellow, which gives rise to their digestive tract. We have the red mesoderm, which gives you their tissue-filled region. And then we have blue ectoderm, which gives them their body covering. So they have 3 layers. They have bilateral symmetry, so if I chop them down the middle, they have a left and a right half that are the same. And they have cephalization, which means they have something that resembles a head. They are acoelomates. A means without, the coelom means without a body cavity. So they're without a coelom or a fluid-filled body cavity lined with tissue. So their body cavity, well, they don't have one, it's just a gut surrounded by tissue. How do they eat? We use the planarian, the flatworm here, for an example, but there's lots of different varieties. They can be free-living carnivores, so they live outside of the body of something else. They can be scavengers, or they can even be parasitic, depending on the type of species we're looking at. Most of them, their digestive system has just one opening, a mouth, and so if we look right here, that's his mouth right there, and it leads to a long muscular tube called a pharynx, so that pH is more of a F. So a pharynx is just a muscular tube that's inside of the mouth that pumps food into a gut. So it's kind of like the hose attachment on your vacuum cleaner. So most of the time this is tucked inside where you can't see it, but then give them a hot dog or something good to eat, this little sucker comes out, and then he just starts munching on the food, and then it gets pumped in through the body and then gets dispersed throughout his gastrovascular cavity all the way down, and it branches down here in the end, and then as you can see it spreads out too throughout the length of his body. On some of them, like a tapeworm, the digested food that's around them will just diffuse directly through their skin into their body. Like I said, the tapeworm gets all their nutrition directly through their skin. For respiration, circulation, and excretion. For respiration, all the oxygen goes in by diffusion, all the CO2 comes out by diffusion, so nothing resembling lungs or gills. Let's see, they do have something called flame cells. These are specialized little cells that are found, let me get a different color here, that are found all throughout his body, like this. This is what they look like up close, right here. Basically, these are the equivalent of kidneys. So they're like teeny tiny little kidneys for them, and what they do is they help to remove excess water, because a lot of these live in freshwater environments, and with all the excess water, they would swell up and explode. So we need these to get rid of excess water, and it also gets rid of metabolic waste that might become poisonous for their body. So that takes care of excretion and respiration. For circulation, since they're really tiny, there really is no circulation that goes throughout their body. It's just more diffusion takes care of everything. For the response, they have what are called ganglia. Ganglia are just groups of neurons that, or nerve cells in their head that kind of act as their brain. So it's like a very small, simple brain. So they have 2 of them located in the head region of their body. And then it kind of spreads out and goes down the length of their body on both sides. So it's kind of like they have 2 spinal cords. So they have 2 long nerve cords that run the length of their body. They also have eyespots, which you can see here and here, which gives them a kind of little cross-eyed look to them. They're kind of cute. and that allows them to detect changes in light. So they can see light and dark, but they can't pick out anything in particular. Some of them can even pick up chemicals in their body tissues. They might pick up chemicals in the water, so if they taste something bad, they'll try to swim away from it. They can even pick up the flow of water, so they know if they're going upstream or downstream. As for movement, if they're not parasitic, they can live in ponds or water or under rocks in the dirt, and so they have very simple muscle cells that allow them to move and turn. Like these guys right here, these ones live in the ocean. They just kind of take this little side area and flap it up and down like doing the wave, and that causes them to hover over the bottom of the ocean. Some of them will just kind of flip-flop their bodies around and just fling themselves from one place to another. The parasitic forms, they usually attach to their host and don't move much. So they have a head that has suckers and hooks. And once their head is attached into their host, they're there until they die. As for reproduction, most of them are hermaphrodites, which means they're both male and female. There are some that are separate sexes, so they are only male or female. And they can reproduce sexually, so a male and a female get together to make babies, like this one right here. Here is a male, the big one, and the male is a little guy inside, and the female is this big one. They got these backwards. No, it's usually the females inside. That's weird. Anyway, you can see they're stuck together doing the nasty. And so, other things they can do. Worms can deliver sperm to each other, lay eggs, and then hatch. So they can just put out eggs. They can do fission, which is if I chop them in half or they rip themselves in half, each new half will grow whatever the opposite half that's missing. So this head grows a new tail, this tail grows a new head. Parasitic worms, though, they have very complex life cycles, which I will show you shortly. Oh, hey, look, shortly right here. So here's a female. Right here you can see she's got two suckers. Here's a little male stuck inside. This is the groove in which he sits, so it's kind of like a hot dog bun and a hot dog, and he fits inside, and they spend their lives doing gross things. Now here's a life cycle of a type of worm. You can see this one's male and female, and this is just a small example showing the life cycle that you have to go. You poop out. It's gross. You poop out things, they land in the grass, the eggs are there, they get fertilized, they turn into a larva, which turns into a little worm, and then you eat the grass, and then it goes into your stomach, and then it goes through your blood into your lungs, and then you cough it up and swallow it again, and then you poop out it's really weird and gross. Alright, let's take a look at the three different classes and what they look like. The first one, class Turbularia, are the planarians. And these guys are really cute. They can live in marine situations, like this really pretty one here, or freshwater, like this little goofy one right over here. They can also live in sand or mud and under stones and seashells. There's class Trematoda, which include things called flukes. Like I said, these kind of look like leeches, but without the segments, and they're not nearly as thick. These guys are parasitic. Typically, they like to hang out in your blood, your internal organs, or on the outside of your body. They need a primary host to live in and to reproduce in, and a secondary host to grow as a larva. So they actually need two different animals. So you can see here's the eggs that come out of the cow booty, and then they turn into a larva, which eventually enters into a snail. In the snail, it turns into this weird structure that can swim around called a cercaria, and then they find their way into grass, and then the cow eats the cercaria, and then it goes inside their muscles and starts out all over again. But the cow cannot eat this part, it will not work. So it has to go through the snail in order for it to work. Oh, gross, what's that? Ew, that's a fluke. This is a liver fluke. This is your liver right here, and there's fluky number 1 and fluky number 2. Ew, gross, I didn't warn you about that one. Ew. Okay, next is good. Cestos, class Cestoda, include tapeworms, and these are long, flat parasitic worms that are adapted to life inside your intestines. They have no digestive tract. Why? You do all the digesting for them, so there's no reason to have a stomach or anything like that. They absorb all their nutrients directly from you. Ain't that nice? They have a head, which is called a scolex, and it has hooks and suction cups, so that way once they get inside, they never let go. Their body is divided into little sections or segments called proglottids. Proglottids are segments that contain both male and female parts inside, and each of those are able to reproduce with each other. Ew! So the males can fertilize themselves, the same worm, or they can fertilize another worm. So kind of creepy when this little guy just kind of folds over on itself like this. Line up the proglottids and you get to have sex with yourself. Here is the scolex of a tapeworm. You can see these are the hooks on top. These are the suction cups on the side. And you can see closest to the head are the youngest proglottids, so they're not really developed. The further down the body you go, then you get the developed one. So one of these is a proglottid, and you can see inside he's got a little hole called the genital pore where both male and female parts reside. So we have, going one way, we can see this little squiggly line. That's a sperm duct. That's where the sperm comes out. And the testes are all these funky looking things all around the outside. So there's all the sperm making going on. Then the female portion, we've got a uterus right here. Not like our uterus, thank gosh. We got an ovary right there, which is making eggs. Eggs go into here, called the yolk gland. And then it goes into the uterus where they chill for a little while. And then they eventually pop out right there. So sperm goes in there, eggs pop out there. And here's the inside of someone's intestine or stomach, and you can see all these nice big fat tapeworms taking over the inside. Used to be years ago that you could get diet pills, which were just little pills with tapeworm eggs inside, and you would take the pill and then magically start losing weight, and that's because you had a tapeworm living inside you sucking all the nutrients from you. Alright, when the eggs get big, so they start out really small, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. When the eggs get big enough, the proglottid starts to swell, kind of like this. And it's full of eggs. Eventually it explodes, and eggs are everywhere inside your intestines, and then you poop them out. Now we're talking animals too, not just humans. So the poop ends up popping these little babies, the larvae, and they find their way into someone else, an intermediate host, an in-between host, where they form a cyst, usually pigs. And then in their muscles, these little cysts grow, and then we eat the muscle with the cyst inside, and ta-da, you are now infected again. So here's an example showing that. So here's infected pork. Don't eat the pork. And so it goes inside. Goes down inside of your stomach and hangs out in there where it starts to grow into an adult. And the adult is hooked onto you because of all the little hooks and suckers. And then he starts shedding eggs, and because remember, you can have sex with yourself and make your own babies. And so the eggs are in the poo. Now somehow the poo gets into the pig. We'll let you figure out how. And then they go and they start to live in the muscle of the pigs. We kill the pig, we cook it up, and then ta-da, we get to do it all over again. Now sometimes the larvae get lost, and they come out and they hang out inside of your muscles, and sometimes up into your brain. So remind me tomorrow and I will show you a picture of a whole bunch of these in a human brain. Alright, have happy thoughts now, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.